Russia's invasion of Ukraine has remained a central issue in discussions at Asia's premier defense summit. Earlier, CNA's Otelli spoke with Ukrainian Defence Minister Oleksii Reznikov. Now, Otelli, what caught your attention during your interview with the Ukrainian Defence Minister?
Yeah, Paul, you see, my guest today is a very important player in an unfolding geopolitical crisis. And the defense minister had exactly half an hour to spare. And for a man, with the weight of enormous responsibilities and expectations on his shoulders, he was incredibly relaxed, and perhaps, this owes to just how far he and his country have come in just over a year. He was very candid and open with us, and I started by asking him actually a very, very basic question. But it is, the question that everyone, especially people in Ukraine, would want to know, and that is, are you winning the war?
Yes, sure. I'm absolutely sure that we will win this war. And the result of this winning would be full liberation of our temporarily occupied territories till the status in 1991, when it was officially, legally, internationally recognized within our borders. It means including Crimea, including Lugansk and Donetsk.
And I want to talk about Bakhmut, though. I mean, it is the bloodiest and longest, region, a battle of the war. But Russia has claimed that, they have it. But what's your reaction and take on that?
They used this direction using crawling offensive tactics, using private military company, using mercenaries, using former criminals. According to our assessment, they have losses approximately more than 60,000 Russian people, manpower, killed in action and wounded in action during more than 8 months. We used Bakhmut as a stronghold for reducing their offensive capability. And we're controlling this territory, the line, and there are no Bakhmut as a city. They whipped out everything using their heavy artillery. No buildings, no residentials, no kindergartens, no hospitals, no university, nothing. So it's an empty place.
So why has it been so challenging, though, when it comes to Bakhmut for both sides?
It was a challenge for ownership of private military company trying to convey or to deliver to the Kremlin that private military company better than official armed forces of Russia Federation. It means for me that the struggle among the Kremlin towers continued. It means that it's not good situation for them, internal situation. You will see that how they loudly accused each other's, official Minister of Defense, non-official, non-government organization, private military company, etc., etc. So it's shaking period for them.
So what has been the most critical weapon for you and your troops on the battlefield?
I would say that I have to describe you with the priorities. Priority number one still remains air defense systems, different types, because Russians continue to use terrorist approach using the cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, terrorist drones against civilian population. They're trying to stop our water supply, energy supply, electricity supply, heating supply in our residential houses, in our civilian places. And that's why we need to cover our sky. We need to defend our children, our ladies. They have to go to the university, to the kindergarten, to the school, to the hospitals. That's why we need more sophisticated systems like Patriots, NASAMS, IRIS-T, SAMT, short range like Krotal, Gepard, and Manpad.
You need a lot.
All of. Oh yes, we need not. We have a big country, and we have to deter them. That's why it's a priority number one. Priority number two, it's different type of artillery, especially Western modern standard with the ammunition for them. Also, because the lives of our soldiers is the main value for us. Instead of Russians, they're using their manpower like cannon fodder. They're using so-called mid-grader tactics, and they didn't thinking about the lives of their soldiers. We need to to defend them. That's why we need so-called iron fist. Main battle tank, armored vehicles, different types, infantry fighting vehicles, armed personal carriers, etc., etc. That's probably, and full support of civilized world against the aggressor.
And what would you say is your best defense against Russia's deadliest weapons?
I would say that the game changer was artillery 155 millimeter in May last year. After that, in July, it was different type of MLRS systems like HIMARS, like Mars, LRU, etc., etc. After that, probably main battle tanks. Tank coalition. It means Leopard, Challengers, Abrams, MX-10 from France, and different types. But the main weaponry, it's a brave hearts of Ukrainians.
And what was it in our earlier conversation? You said that your mother, as a psychiatrist, imparted some wisdom to you, which carried you through this Ukraine, the war. And I think not a lot of people know this, but you actually took on this top job just 4 months before the war started.
3 months before.
3 months?
Yes. I'm an optimist. I'm using the humor. And my mother told me, if you cannot to change the obstacles or situation, you have to change your mindset. And it will help you to live and survive. That's why providing this theory in the practice.
Another quote that you've mentioned before is that you said that Ukraine basically know everything about Russia a lot better than what your partners and allies do, because your generals went to the same academy. You've been fighting them, since 2014. In other words, then, what can you tell us about Russia that the rest of us don't know?
That Russia still remains as an empire. They still continue their tactics and politics as so-called new imperialism or new colonialism. It means that they waiting in the mindset gathering lands. They cannot accept that a small country can live separately, can live independently with their values. It's a difference. They're still living in this imperialism approach, and like Great Russia or something else, or Soviet Union. And for us, the theory or doctrine, might is right, is unacceptable for us. We accept rule of law. We will not accept rule of violence as they provide against their neighbors. Not only against the Ukraine. They did it against Georgia. They did it against Moldova and Transnistria. They did it against Ukraine, and they continue to do it in the Caucasus, in Syria, and other countries. So it means that whole the world who have values of independent, normal prosperity, peaceful countries will support Ukraine and will stay against Russia.
And Minister, you've traveled a long way to get here, via train, via plane. You're all the way here in Singapore. What is the most constructive conversation that you hope to have? Whether it's your bilateral discussion or speaking to other countries, that you can go back to your President Zelensky, and say it's mission accomplished.
I have to emphasize that my first official visit to the Asia-Pacific region. It's my second visit to the Singapore after 20 years. When I was just a diver, I was just a private lawyer. 20 years ago, I was there. And I have the privilege to convey, to deliver our messages to your part of the world, that we are fighting for the whole mankind's values. And this war is not only war between among Russia and Ukraine. This war have an effect to the civilized world. It also will touch Africa countries, Asia countries, for example, starving, because you know that Ukraine was the famous country with the grain to deliver them to the people who needs. And thanks to the UN umbrella and Turkey that we have grain deal, and we can deliver our grain, sunflower oil to the different countries. But the impact is in the world.
Right.
That's for me the main conversation. we speaking with you because I'm speaking with your people. And all my bilateral meetings also, I continue my negotiation with my counterparts, ministers of defense of different countries, that we need to continue this support as long as it takes. And my president asked me to do it, and I do it.
And not a lot of people know this, Minister, but you are an avid diver. And you've got something to share with our viewers about how you want to turn a certain spot in the Black Sea as the most famous diving spot.
Yes, I invite my colleagues divers in your world to join me for the next dive tour after when we will this war, because in the Black Sea became new very famous dive spot or dive site. It's a former flag warship cruiser Moskva from Russian fleets. We sunk them last April using Ukrainian Navy rockets Neptune, so it will be very famous wreck on the bottom of the Black Sea. I invite you.
Well, you know, at age 56, the defense minister, he finds himself in an unlikely position, taking on the job mere months, as you've heard there, before the war started. And I guess I was, Paul, half expecting the minister to be this hardened, very serious person, but he was actually all smiles, all laughter, and he was very kind and friendly towards, like a younger person like myself. So maybe, just being a lawyer in training actually helped. Actually, I wanted to show you this. He also passed me this bracelet. It is made by ammunition casings used by the Ukrainian armed forces, and he said it was just a reminder of how far Ukraine has come when it was anticipated that Kyiv would fall within 72 hours of the first Russian missiles landing in Ukraine.